Very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1 live and direct from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. Bringing you the news, I'm Jadabdin.
And I'm Mumitra Bekon. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
US President's Asian envoy meets Sri Lankan President. Professor Maitri Wickramasinghe summoned by CID. Dilipa Pieris tells court. Former Presidential Secretary Saman Ekanayake granted bail. Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca makes new revelation. SLPP local councillor among two sentenced to 16 years for forged deed. Pathum Nissanka soars to world number 3 in ICC T20I rankings.
And on to those stories in detail. In your top story this evening, Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca, the former Sri Lanka Army commander, made an explosive revelation today.
මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂලාට 2008 පමණ ඉඳලම මේ යුද්ධය කඩාකප්පල් කරන්න උවමනාව තිබ්බා. 2008 ජනවාරි මාසයේදී ආරක්ෂක කවුන්සිලයේදී මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂයි ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂයි කරන්නා ගොඩයි තුන්දෙනා යෝජනාවක් ගෙනා ආරක්ෂක කවුන්සිලයට. එතකොට මම වැලියෝ සේනාංකයක් දාලා සේනාංක හතර පැත්තකින් වට කරනකොට යෝජනාවක් ගෙනාව ඔහොම ගිහිල්ලා වැඩක් නැහැ. මේක යුද්ධ ඉක්මනට තව කල් ඇදෙනවා. ඔය එහෙම මෙන් හතර පැත්තෙන් යන්න ගියාම තුවාල වෙනවත් වැඩි කියලා සිටියමක් දාලා ඉරක් ගහලා පෙන්නුවා. වවුනියාව ඉඳලා කෙලිම මුලතියට වලට ඉරක් ගහලා මේ ඉර දිගේ ගිහිල්ලා මුලති වලට ගැහුවා නම් යුද්ධ ඉවර කරන්න පුළුවන් නේ. ඔබතුමා වෙලාව නාස්ති කරනවානේ හැම පැත්තෙම සේනාංක දාලා කියලා. ඒ වෙලේ හැදුවේ මාව ධෛර්යමත් කරන්න. කළා යුද්ධය කඩාකප්පල් කරන්න. ඊළඟට ඒගොල්ලෝ තවත් කරපු දෙයක් ගැන මම අද වීඩියෝ එකක් දානවා. යුද්ධය යන අතරේ නැවතත් මේ කොහොමද මේගොල්ලෝ දෙක කඩාකප්පල් කරන්න හැදුවේ කියලා. මේක 2009 යුද්ධයේ අවසාන කාලයේදී 2009 මැයි 17 වෙනිදා සිද්ධ වෙච්ච සිද්ධියක්. මැයි 17 වෙනිදා දිවා කාලේ. මම එතකොට චීනෙ හිටියේ. මම ලංකාවට ආවේ එදා රෑ 9ට මේ දිවා කාලේ මම ලංකාවට එන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා සිද්ධ වෙච්ච සිද්ධියක් තමයි මේ වීඩියෝ එකේ තියෙන්නේ.
Now the situation is this. Sirasa spoke to me. LTT is willing to surrender. Again, total leadership is there, but all are willing to surrender. Conditions to not die, the casualties, buyout, Colombo, other thing is, they have 6 of our soldiers with them. I got that out there now. They got the exchange and hello, we should not surrender anything. If they are surrendered to government forces, yes. If they are surrendered to ICRC, no.
මේ කතාව යන්නේ 2009 මැයි 17 දවල් කාලේදී. මේක කියනවා මේගොල්ලෝ උදේවරුේ මේකේ ආරක්ෂක ලේකම්ගෙන් තමයි මේ කෝල් එක එන්නේ. ෂයින්ද සිල්ලට ඒ වෙලාවෙත්. එයා කියනවා ඒ කතා කරේ ලේකම් කියලා. මේක කියන්නේ එදා දිවා කාලේ මම දන්නෙත් නෑ. මම චීනෙ හිටියේ. මට දැනුම් දුන්නේ නෑ. නමුත් මං ගාව සංනිවේදන උපකරණ දුරකථන ඔක්කොම තිබ්බ ආරක්ෂක කවුන්සිලයට කතා කරන්න. මම චීනෙ හිටියත් මගේ හේවුම් කාර්ය මණ්ඩලයෙන් මං එක්ක හිටියා. එහෙ ඉඳගෙනත් මම දිගටම කොළඹ ඉඳන් වගේම යුද්ධයට අණ දුන්නා. නමුත් මටවත් කියන්නේ නැතුව මේගොල්ලෝ සාකච්ඡාවක් කරලා තියෙනවා 17 වෙනිදා උදේ ICRC එකේ මේ හිටපු ප්‍රධානියා එක්කයි Amnesty International ක්ෂමා ආයතනයේ නියෝජිතයත් අතුළුව ඊට පස්සේ බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂලා මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ ගෝඨාභය සාකච්ඡාවක් කරලා තියෙනවා. රාෂ්ට්‍රවාදී නායකයන්ට යටත් වෙන්න අවකාශ සලසලා දෙන්න. මගේ නියෝගය තිබුණේ LTT සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම අතුගාලා දාන්න. ඒකත් තමයි යුද සැලසුම් කරේ ඔක්කොම කරේ. කවුරුත් යටත් කරගන්න, කවුරුත් ලං කරගන්න, ජීවිත බේරගන්න LTT එක බේරන්න අපට අවශ්‍යතාවයක් තිබ්බේ නැහැ. ඉතා පැහැදිලි අරමුණකින් දෙගෙන අපි යුද්ධ කරා. මේගොල්ලෝ කතා කරලා තියෙනවා. අරගොල්ලෝ ඒ වෙලාවේ මොකද අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම දැන් ওই දවස් වෙනකොට LTT එක මීටර් 400 කොටුවකට අපි කොටු කරලා මුලතිව් වලට පොඩ්ඩක් උඩින් වෙල්ලමුල්ලි වයිකාල් වලට පල්ලෙහින් නද්දි කණ්ඩාල් කලපු අයිනේ 16 වෙනිදා රැය වෙනකොට එහෙම කොටු කළා. ඒතකොට එහෙම කොටු කරපු අය ඒගොල්ලෝ දන්නවා අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ඉදිරි පැය කීපය ඇතුළත මේගොල්ලෝ විනාශ වෙනවා කියලා. LTT යටත් වෙලා නැහැ. අපි යටත් වීම කතා කරන්නෙත් නැහැ. අපට ඕන කරලා තුන විනාශ කරන්න. එහෙම තියෙනකොට තමයි මේගොල්ලෝ මේ කතා කරලා මෙයා කියනවා සාකච්ඡාවක් ගියපු ඇටි ඔක්කොම ඒකේ සබ්ටයිටල් තිබුණා. සවුන්ඩ්ස් පැහැදිලි නැති වුණාට ඔය වීඩියෝ කරපු එක්කෙනක් දැන් රටෙන් පැනලා ගිහිල්ලා ඉන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ ගෝඨාභයලා එයා මරන්න හදපු නිසා ඒ මාධ්‍යවේදියා හැංගිලා පිටරට ඉන්නේ. එතකොට මේගොල්ලෝ මේ උත්සාහ කරා LTT කියනවා ආමියකට යටත් වෙන්න බෑ තුන්වෙනි පාර්ශ්වයකට යටත් වෙන්නම් කියලා. නමුත් අපි ඒක හන්ද කැමති වුණ නැහැ කියලා කතාවක් කියනවා. වර්ධිලා හරි ආමියකට යටත් වෙන්න කැමති වුණා නම් රාජපක්ෂ නියෝග දෙනවා මේගොල්ලෝ බාර අරගෙන ඒගොල්ලෝ ජීවිත බේරන්න කියලා. මේක තමයි 17 වෙනිදා රාජපක්ෂලගේ ඔළුවේ තිබුණ විස බීජය. නැත්නම් එදා මේක මේ විදියට වුණා නම් එහෙනම් මේ වෙනකොට උතුම් නැගෙනහිර මහමැති කළා ප්‍රභාකරන් මේගොල්ලෝ. එතන හිටියා සූසේ හිටියා. එතන හිටියා පොට්ටුවම්මන් හිටියා. පොට්ටුවම්මන්ගේ වයිෆ් හිටියා. එතන හිටියා අනිත් නායකයෝ ටික කර්නල් තිලීපන්ලා අරගොල්ල මේගොල්ලෝ ඔක්කොම රමේෂ් අතුළු පිරිසත් මං හිතන්නේ නැගෙනහිරින් බලා ගිය අයත් ඔතන ඉඳලා තියෙනවා. මේ ඔක්කොගේම ජීවිත බේරන්න තමයි 17 වෙනිදා මේ ජාතික වීරයා කියන මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ උත්සාහ කරේ. ඒතකොට මේ වීඩියෝ එක ජනතාව දකින්න ඕනේ, තේරුම් ගන්න ඕනේ. මෙච්චර කල් මේක එළියට එන්නේ නැතුව මේ මාධ්‍යවේදී හංගගෙන හිටියා. මට මේක වෙනත් වක්‍ර මාර්ගයකින් මගේ අතටපත් වුණා. ඒකයි මම මේක එළියට දැම්මේ ජනතාව දැනුවත් කරන්න. මට සුදු කොඩි කතාවක් ගොතලා මේගොල්ලෝ මගේ පිටින් දාලා මට මඩ ගහන්න හැදුවා. මම යටත් වෙන සුදු කොඩි අරන් එන අයට වෙඩි තියන්න කියලා ආමියක වෙඩි තියුවා අරම කතාවක් ගෙතුවා කියලා. ඔය සුදු කොඩි කතා යටත් වෙන කතා ඔක්කොම නිර්මාණය වුණේ මෙතන හිටපු මාධ්‍යවේදීන්ගේ කැමරාවලින්. ඒතුව මම නිර්මාණය කරපු එකක් නෙමෙයි. මේ යටත් වීමේ කතාව තමයි. එතකොට මාධ්‍යවේදීන් ඒවා තවත් රහ කරලා ඉවරලා දැනතන කිව්වා යටත් වෙනවා නම් සුදු කොඩි අරන් එන්න. සුදු කොඩි අරන් එන හැටි යටත් වෙන්න කිව්වා. එයාට වෙඩි තිබ්බා රෝම කතාව වෙන පැත්තට හැරෙව්වා.
A widespread public discourse has emerged today regarding the conduct of members of parliament whose positions are funded by the people. Now this growing debate has gained momentum largely because a ruling party that once held a 2/3 majority in parliament eventually fell back to the point of securing only a single national list seat.
At the same time, the main opposition, which previously held the largest block of opposition MPs, was pushed aside by voters who instead chose to deliver overwhelming victories at presidential, parliamentary and local government elections to a party that initially held just 3 seats in parliament. This shift has prompted an important question. Do some political parties represented in parliament today truly understand the people's demand for an advanced democratic parliamentary system? The need to raise this question arises from the behavior displayed by certain opposition MPs in parliament today.
පුදුම බයක් තියෙන්නේ.
අවසන් කරන්න විපක්ෂ නායකතුමා 8න් 4ක් ඔබට ඒත් විනාඩි 2යි දෙන්න පුළුවන්.
අවසන් කිරීමේ ක්‍රියාවලිය ආරම්භ කරන්න. විනාඩි 10ක් තියෙනවා. තව විනාඩි 10ක් තියෙනවා. ඇයි මෙහෙම බය? ඇයි මෙච්චර බය?
හැබැයි ඔබතුමා නිහඬව බලන් ඉදි සභානායක කතානායක වෙන්න කියම හැමදාම ප්‍රශ්න. එයා මේ නෝනත් එක පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඇවිල්ලා මේව කටයුතු කරන්නේ.
ස්ථාවර නියෝග යටතේ
මොකද්ද?
මට අයිතියක් නැද්ද? මේ ඇමතිතුමිය උත්තරයක් දුන්නාම පැහැදිලි කිරීමක් කරන්න.
Earlier today, opposition MP Chamara Sampath expressed frustration over how the opposition itself had wasted valuable parliamentary time.
9 මාරේ ඉඳන් 11 මාරයි වෙලාව. කිව්වේ නෑ මෙච්චර බලාගෙන හිටියා 9 මාරේ ඉඳන්. බැරි නම් ඔක දාලා යන්න කතානායකතුමා වෙන කාට හරි කරන්න කියලා.
ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමා ඔබතුමා මට නියෝග කිරීමට නොහැකි.
ගරු කතානායකතුමා
විනයක් ඇතුව හැසිරීමට කටයුතු කරා.
එතුමා එක කියන්නේ විපක්ෂ නායක එතුමා තමයි මෙතන සභානායක නාවන්.
ඔබතුමාට
විනාඩි 10ක් නාස්ති.
චාමර සම්පත් දසරාගමත ඔබතුමාට පැහැදිලි කර විතරක්.
විපක්ෂ නායක කණෙන් අල්ලලා ඉඳ දාන්න. ඔබතුමාට නම් පුළුවන් වෙයි. ඔබතුමා අපි හරියට ටයිම් ටේබල් එක හදලා තිබෙනවා. ඒ ටයිම් ටේබල් එක ඇතුලේ තමයි අපි ඉන්නේ. ඒ නිසා මෙතන සභාවේ වාද විවාද කරන් තියෙන වැඩගත් කාලේ තමයි විපක්ෂ නායකවරයා මල් කොල්ල කෑවේ.
පාටි ලීඩර්ස්ලා ඕගොල්ලෝ හදාගන්න අපිට ඉස්සලා අපි මේ නිකන්
චාමර සම්පත් විපක්ෂයේ මන්ත්‍රීතුමාට සුතුරන්ත වෙනවා. එතුමා මට කිව්වා විපක්ෂ නායකතුමාව හදලා ගන්න කියලා මම ඉස්සරහට ඒක කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ගරු කතානායකතුමනි මේගොල්ලෝ හැම කෙනාම පස්සේ ගිහිල්ලා මන්ත්‍රීකමත් උගුණ ගත්ත නිසා හිතනවා අපිත් එහෙම අය කියලා. මේ දේශපාලන වනචරයන්ට ඔබතුමා මගේ කාලනාශි කරන් දෙන්න එපා. එකක් තමයි අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන කරු කතානායකතුමනි පාර්ලිමේන්තුව විනය හදන්න වගේම රටේ ප්‍රවාහනයේ විනය හදන්න. අපි මෑතකදී තමයි මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය භාවිතා කරලා රියදුරන් සහ කොන්දොස්තරවරුන් පිළිබඳ පරීක්ෂා කරන්න බලය ගත්තේ. මට හිතෙනවා මේ ලැබ් බස් එක පාර්ලිමේන්තුව පැත්තටත් එවන්න ඕනද කියලා සමහරගේ හැසිරීම දැක්කම.
During one opposition member's speech, several other opposition MPs made remarks insulting to women and inappropriate for parliament, prompting further concern.
තරුණයන්ට ඡන්ද දෙන්න කියලා කිව්වා මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂට. ඔය ඉතින් විමල් රත්නායක. මහින්දගේ පරණ වීඩියෝ අරගෙන බලන්න. එයාට උච්චර කේන්තියක් තියෙනවා නම් මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂගේ ෆොටෝ එකක් ගෙනල්ලා ඉස්සරහ තියාගෙන බයින්න. මේ අපිට බයින්න එපා. අපි නෙමෙයි රාජපක්ෂලා ගෙනාවේ. ඒ මොකෙද අනිත් අපිට? පාර්ලිමේන්තුව ගිනි තියන්න කියලා අඬ ගැව්වා. මිනිසුන්ට එන්න කියලා. අද කතා කරනවා පාර්ලිමේන්තු සම්ප්‍රදාය ගැන. ගෑණි පාර්ලිමේන්තුව ගෙනල්ලා. පවුලම පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ. ලැජ්ජයි. හරි දැන් මොකද්ද? දැන් අනුර කුමාර පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ගෙනාවා, නෝනවයි මහත්තයාවත් ගෙනාවා, තාත්තවයි පුතාවත් ගෙනාවා, ගර්ල්ෆ්‍රෙන්ඩ් වයි බොයිෆ්‍රෙන්ඩ්වත් ගෙනාවා. මොකද බොයිෆ්‍රෙන්ඩ් කියේ? බොයිෆ්‍රෙන්ඩ් විතරයි ගෙනාවේ නැත්තේ. බොයිෆ්‍රෙන්ඩ් ගර්ල්ෆ්‍රෙන්ඩ් උත් ගෙනාවා. දැන් බොයිෆ්‍රෙන්ඩ් ඉන්නවා. දැන් ඒකත් හොයන්න ඕනේ බොයිෆ්‍රෙන්ඩ් ඉන්නවද කියලා. මෙතුමා hina වෙනවා මම දන්නවා. මෙතුමා මේ සබ්ජෙක්ට් එකේ hina මම දන්නවා ඒක හොඳට. එතුමා hina වෙනවා.
මම මගේ තාත්තගේ ජාන වලින් ඉපදිච්ච පුද්ගලයෙක්. හැබැයි මම අභියෝග කරනවා එහෙම අපිට ඒ අවලාද කරන කට්ටියට පුළුවන් නම් එන්න ජාන පරීක්ෂාවෙන් කවුද තාත්තා කවුද කියලා හොයාගන්න පුළුවන් නම් එන්න කියලා.
Will go to the next speaker.
Newsfirst with the people.
The Democratic National Organization expressed strong concern over the inappropriate behavior of several opposition MPs.
Today in Parliament, the discussion was meant to be about the special commodity levy. But is this what the people sent the opposition for? To hurl abuse? I truly wonder what the role of the opposition is anymore. The opposition leader uses the privilege he has to raise questions simply to disrupt Parliament every single day. And what did we witness today? At several points, unbelievably indecent and abusive language. These very individuals are the ones asking for pensions and privileges. It costs a significant amount of public money to run Parliament, and all of that money comes from the taxes of the people. What we should have been debating today is the bill that was presented. What will happen to the farmers through this bill? How do we protect the farmer? How do we protect the consumers of this country? These are the matters that should have been discussed meaningfully in Parliament. But instead of a debate, it turned into nothing more than a stream of abusive remarks. This opposition is bankrupt, completely bankrupt. They have nothing to say. That is why they waste time inside the chamber by shouting insults again and again. We also saw some of them behaving in a completely distorted manner, like individuals influenced by drugs or alcohol. Earlier, former MP Ranjan Ramanayaka publicly stated that half the parliament takes cocaine and crystal meth. I believe those are the very people sitting here today.
පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ඇතුළට එන්න කලින් අර පොලිසිය මිනිස්සු අල්ලගෙන රතවාහන රියදුරු අල්ලගන්නවා වගේ පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රීවරු සභාගර්භයකට ගන්න කලින් බැලුම් බෝලයක් දෙන්න පුම්බල ගන්න.
Check whether they have consumed alcohol today or even the day before. Otherwise, how else do we explain this kind of behavior? This is the supreme legislative body where laws are made, and yet they walk in and spew abusive language. Therefore, as a political organization and as citizens of this country, we condemn this conduct in the strongest possible terms.
The People's Power Collective criticized the recent conduct of opposition MPs.
We have now witnessed what I would call a degenerate opposition. We saw how they insulted women, starting from the Prime Minister herself. The opposition today does little else but resort to insulting women. That is their main activity. Let me be clear, Sujiva Senasinghe, Chaminda Vijayasiri, these individuals don't reveal their real views at the microphones in Parliament. Their real attitudes appear elsewhere. This is a degenerate opposition. That is what exists today. This is exactly the culture the people voted to change. That is why we say the degenerate actions of this opposition have now been fully exposed. So we urge the public to stay alert, because it is now evident that this opposition does not understand its proper role. The truth is, we do not have a meaningful opposition in this country.
It was highlighted that according to recent survey reports, public confidence in the opposition has significantly declined.
Regarding the government's current popularity, an opinion survey conducted by Verite Research revealed that the government holds around 65% approval. Similarly, the Sociologists Association in Colombo carried out a survey assessing public reactions to politicians after the Ditwa cyclone. That survey showed that the president holds 78.73% approval overall. However, politicians associated with the government have 45.75% support. When it comes to the opposition, only 23.6% of respondents expressed satisfaction with their conduct. If we break it down regionally, in the northern province, the president has an approval rating of 86% and in the eastern province, 89%. In the northwestern province, the figure climbs to an extraordinary 97%. But look at the opposition's ratings. In the northern province, the opposition has only 12.3% approval. In the eastern province, 19%. In the northwestern province, just 11%. These figures clearly show the state of public sentiment towards the opposition today.
Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe's wife Maitri Wickremesinghe has been summoned to appear before the Financial Crimes Investigation Division of the Criminal Investigation Department on the 20th of February. Additional Solicitor General Dileepa Peris informed this to the court today.
The announcement was made when the case against former President Ranil Wickremesinghe and former Presidential Secretary Saman Ekanayake relating to the alleged misuse of 16.6 million Sri Lankan rupees in state funds for a tour in the United Kingdom was taken up in court. The court convened today to deliver the order on the bail application filed by the second suspect, Saman Ekanayake. Delivering the order, the magistrate stated that the court observed criminal intent on the part of the second suspect.
Excerpt.
I am reading a section of the 7-page order. When charges are filed under the Public Property Act, special reasons must be presented to obtain bail. This case concerns the alleged misappropriation of 16 million rupees by the highest state official of this republic. The second suspect is charged with aiding and abetting this financial crime. Without verifying whether the former president's foreign visit was personal or official, the second suspect approved state funds. Even if financial details were provided by another official, he cannot absolve his responsibility. At a time when funds were scarce, it was his duty to examine the justification. If the highest state official acts this way, all state financial administration collapses. Therefore, the second suspect cannot approve funds based on the premise that the head of state's foreign tours cannot be questioned. It appears the second suspect acted with criminal intent.
End of excerpt.
The magistrate, however, noted that all individuals are equal before the law and announced that the suspect would be released on bail.
Excerpt.
The charges against the first suspect are more severe than those against the second suspect. However, the presiding magistrate released the first suspect on bail due to medical reasons, treating his condition as exceptional. It was submitted that the first suspect suffers from a life-threatening illness. Even after being remanded, there was no report to court about his admission to the ICU or his medical condition. No medical report was called from the court. Yet, bail was granted based on medical reports approved by a panel of specialist doctors, not reports called through a government medical officer. Despite the claim of a serious medical condition, there is no record of receiving residential treatment before or after being granted bail. The second suspect has now been in remand for 21 days. Everyone is equal before the law. This applies to presidents and secretaries alike. The ongoing investigations apply to both suspects equally. Therefore, the second suspect is released on 2 personal bail bonds worth 20 million rupees each. Since the first suspect was released without a travel ban, I will not impose a travel ban on the second suspect either. The previous travel ban imposed on the second suspect is lifted.
End of excerpt.
The case is scheduled to be called again on April 29th at 2 p.m.
Two individuals convicted in a case involving the preparation of forged deeds have each been sentenced to 16 years in prison. One of the convicted persons is a local council member representing the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna.
The case related to the incident was taken up today before Chilau High Court Judge Naomi Wickramasinghe. The investigation was launched following a complaint received by the Criminal Investigations Department on the 7th of June 2011. The complaint alleged that 26 forged deeds had been prepared and used to sell 2 land plots belonging to the complainant located in Waikal, measuring 3 acres, 2 roods and 34 perches. Those sentenced today were Attorney-at-Law Alex Nishantha Fernando, a member of the Vennappuwa Pradeshia Sabha representing the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, while the other was a resident of Mahaweva. In addition to the present sentence, the court ordered each of them to pay a fine of 80,000 rupees. They were also directed to pay 800,000 rupees each in compensation to the complainant. The judge further stated that failure to pay the compensation would result in an additional 12-month prison term.
The Colombo High Court today ordered that a separate case filed by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption against former North Central Province Chief Minister S.M. Ranjit be taken up for hearing on April 2nd. The case was taken up before High Court Judge Mohammed Mihail. After considering the submissions made, the judge fixed the matter for hearing on April 2nd and issued summons to the relevant witnesses to appear in court on that date. According to the charges filed by the Bribery Commission between September 27, 2012 and December 31, 2014, while serving as Chief Minister of the North Central Provincial Council, S.M. Ranjit unlawfully obtained fuel in addition to his salary and fuel allowance. This alleged misconduct is said to have caused a financial loss to the government, and the Commission has filed a case for committing the offence known as corruption.
2 brothers from the same family arrested in connection with aiding and abetting the perpetrators of the Akuregoda double murder were ordered to be remanded until the 4th of March. They were produced before the Kaduwela Magistrates Court this afternoon, after which the remand order was issued.
Another suspect arrested yesterday in connection with the Akuregoda double murder has also been granted court approval to be detained for further questioning. The 2 brothers were taken into custody recently on allegations of providing shelter to the gunman, transporting firearms and supplying narcotics. They were questioned under a detention order until today. Approximately 50 lawyers appeared in court on behalf of the aggrieved party. During today's proceedings, Magistrate Aruna Indrajit Buddhadasa inquired whether the suspects had legal representation. The 2 suspects informed the court that no lawyer was appearing for them. When the magistrate further asked whether they wished to make any statement before the court, both suspects confirmed that they did. Their statements were subsequently recorded inside the magistrate's official chamber. The remanded brothers are 27 and 20 years old. Police say the gunmen involved in the murder have already been identified and special operations are currently underway to arrest them. Investigators confirmed that special operational teams have been deployed to track down the suspects. Attorney-at-Law Buddhika Mallavarachi and his wife were shot dead last Friday afternoon in Akuregoda, Thalangama. Police suspect that the killings were carried out on the orders of an organized criminal figure known as Karandeniye Sudha.
Years of excellence. Sri Lanka Air Force proudly celebrates its 75th anniversary of serving the nation. Coming soon on Newsfirst.
President Anura Kumara Dissanayake is scheduled to address the AI Impact 2026 summit in New Delhi tomorrow. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is hosting a special dinner tonight for the visiting heads of state, and the Sri Lankan President is in attendance.
The AI Impact 2026 Summit will officially commence tomorrow at the Bharat Mandapam Convention Hall in New Delhi with the participation of world leaders and top figures in the global technology sector. The summit will emphasize the importance of using artificial intelligence responsibly for the well-being of humanity. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is hosting a summit dinner tonight, which President Dissanayake was also present alongside other world leaders. President Dissanayaka is also scheduled to hold a special bilateral meeting with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In addition, several bilateral discussions are expected to take place with other heads of state, including the President of France. Earlier this morning, the President met Sergio Gore, the US President Donald Trump's special envoy for South and Central Asia. Gore also serves as the US Ambassador to India. India has secured a Guinness World Record title for receiving the most pledges for an AI responsibility campaign in 24 hours, with 250,946 valid submissions recorded between the 16th of February and the 17th of February. The announcement was made by Union Minister for Electronics and Information Technology, Ashwini Vaishnav, during the India AI Impact Summit 2026, which is currently underway in New Delhi.
The nationwide campaign was launched to inspire Indian citizens to commit to ethical, transparent and accountable use of artificial intelligence. Through a dedicated portal, participants engaged with scenario-based questions focused on data privacy, misinformation and responsible innovation. Those completing the pledge received digital badges and access to AI learning pathways. Officials emphasized that the campaign marks a major milestone in citizen-led digital responsibility.
IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva departed Sri Lanka today following a 3-day visit, during which she held a series of high-level meetings and reviewed the country's ongoing economic recovery efforts.
IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva concluded her visit after meeting the President, the Prime Minister, the Central Bank Governor and communities affected by Cyclone Detwa. During her meeting yesterday at Temple Trees with Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya, Georgieva praised the government's efforts to stabilize the economy and manage both recent economic challenges and natural disaster impacts. The Prime Minister's media division stated that the discussion also focused on the severe economic effects faced by communities hit by Cyclone Detwa, with Georgieva emphasizing the importance of cooperation and strengthening the country's ability to withstand financial shocks. Meanwhile, the IMF Managing Director also met Central Bank Governor Nandalal Veerasinghe and senior officials yesterday. The meeting coincided with the 75th anniversary of Sri Lanka's membership in the IMF and the 75th anniversary of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. During these discussions, it was noted that Sri Lanka's performance under the IMF's current lending program has been a successful experience. Georgieva also recognized the central bank's contribution towards restoring macroeconomic stability following the economic crisis. She expressed confidence that Sri Lanka has the potential to achieve strong economic growth by implementing the necessary strategic reforms and sustaining them over time. According to the central bank's statement, the governor expressed appreciation for the IMF's continuous support under the Extended Fund Facility, which has helped the country navigate unprecedented economic hardships, return to macroeconomic stability, and progress toward completing the debt restructuring process.
Within this short period, we have surpassed our targets and are moving towards a positive growth trend. The first quarter recorded 4.8%, the second quarter 4.9%, and the third quarter 5.4%. This is the trajectory we are on, and we expect to take this further. We have the capacity and the potential to move towards the 7 to 8% growth target, and that was emphasized. Right now, we are operating within a program aimed at controlling inflation at 5% over the next 3 years. As a result, people's purchasing power has increased. Purchasing power improves further when salaries have also been increased. Without introducing any new taxes, we have been able to increase tax revenue. How? By preventing tax evasion and tax leakage. We have now eliminated these leaks. We have also increased tax compliance and improved efficiency in tax collection. Because of this, by 2025, we will be able to increase our tax revenue by 110% based on the expected income.
The Colombo Grand Mosque has announced that the crescent moon for the month of Ramadan has been sighted. With the sighting of the new moon, all Muslims in Sri Lanka will commence fasting from tomorrow, Thursday, the 19th of February 2026.
Moving on, Jaffna has stepped vividly into the international travel spotlight after Condé Nast Traveller India unveiled a richly textured feature celebrating the Northern Peninsula as Sri Lanka's final frontier.
Jaffna has been thrust into the international tourism spotlight after Condé Nast Traveller India published a richly detailed feature positioning the Northern Peninsula as Sri Lanka's final frontier, a destination shaped by history, culture, resilience and remarkable natural beauty. In the article, writer Kalpana Sundar traces Jaffna's evolution from a region long scarred by war into one of the island's most compelling cultural landscapes. She describes that by the time one arrives in Jaffna, also known as Yalpanam, it feels like a different world perched at the northern tip of the island after decades of civil war isolation until 2009. The feature highlights Jaffna's deep historic roots as the capital of a 13th century Tamil kingdom and a long-standing center of Tamil culture and literature. Today, after more than 25 years of conflict and the devastation of the 2004 tsunami, the region is slowly reclaiming its identity and welcoming travelers eager to experience a Sri Lanka vastly different from the south. Jaffna's cuisine stands out as a defining part of its identity. What truly defines Jaffna is its food. Cooking here reflects generations of local wisdom, nutrient-rich red rice, Palmyra-based dishes found nowhere else, and a distinctive curry style that favors aromatic spices over heat. Through its wide-ranging narrative, Condé Nast Traveller India not only showcases Jaffna as a place of sights and experiences, but frames it as a region reborn, one that blends history, resilience, faith, and unfiltered authenticity.
The first death anniversary of the late Kalasuri Deshanetru, Dr. Arundhati Sri Ranganathan, was held in Colombo yesterday.
A ceremony was held in Colombo yesterday to commemorate the first death anniversary of the late Kalasuri and Deshanetru, Dr. Arundhati Sri Ranganathan. The ceremony, held at the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Centre, was attended by scholars, journalists, musicians, artists and many others. Floral tributes were also offered during the commemoration. The commemoration also included a number of cultural performances. Sri Lanka's leading music and media personality Kalasuri Deshanetru, Dr. Arundhati Sri Ranganathan, passed away in Australia on the 17th of February in 2025. She was a brilliant multi-talented personality, specialized as a singer, broadcaster, veena teacher and organizer of dance programs. She also served as the director of the Tamil service of the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. It is noteworthy that Dr. Arundhati Sri Ranganathan was also a lecturer in music as well as Carnatic music and dance at the University of Colombo.
She was a truly remarkable soul who left a lasting impact on Sri Lanka's music, dance and media sectors. Known for her discipline and strong values, she guided and inspired many, helping shape a generation that understands the ethics and responsibility behind music, dance and media in Sri Lanka.
Arundhati connected with different communities in Sri Lanka rather than restricting reach into only one community, the Tamil community. She wanted to reach out to all the people so that there is an opportunity to connect different people from different ethnic groups so that there is some kind of translation of peace and reconciliation in a war-torn Sri Lanka.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron virtually inaugurated the final assembly line for H-125 helicopters at the Vemagal Industrial Area in Kola, Karnataka near Bengaluru.
The facility marks India's first private sector helicopter manufacturing plant, a major milestone in the country's push forward aerospace self-reliance. The new plant will begin by producing 10 H-125 helicopters annually, aimed at meeting both domestic demand and exports to neighboring countries. Over the next 20 years, the facility is expected to scale significantly to address a projected demand of 500 helicopters. The first made-in-India H-125 helicopter is scheduled to take off from this site by early 2027.
हमें गर्व है कि भारत और फ्रांस मिलकर माउंट एवरेस्ट की ऊंचाइयों तक उड़ान भरने वाला विश्व का एकमात्र हेलीकॉप्टर भारत में बनाएंगे और ये पूरे विश्व को एक्सपोर्ट भी करेंगे। यानी इंडिया फ्रांस पार्टनरशिप knows no boundaries. It can reach from deep oceans to the tallest mountain.
So India does not just participate to global innovation. India leads it. From Silicon Valley to the Champs-Élysées and from technology to culture. And that, dear Narendra, dear Prime Minister, is what this year of innovation celebrates. Not a promise, but a reality. Innovation is a driver of our economic growth. As highlighted by the French Nobel Prize laureate Philippe Aghion, innovation is also what enables us to address the great challenges of our time, from climate change to inequalities. And that is why we created the France 2030 plan to invest more than 50 billion euro in tomorrow's sectors, creating thousands of projects and almost 200,000 jobs.
Today, Cuba is experiencing the deepest economic uncertainty in decades, sometimes even in the lifetime of its people. US President Donald Trump called Cuba a failed nation and noted that despite the ongoing talks, there is an embargo, no oil and no money flowing to the island.
In a startling revelation, US President Donald Trump has claimed that the military operation to abduct Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel wouldn't be very tough. Speaking aboard Air Force One yesterday, Trump indicated that such drastic measures are unnecessary given the current energy crisis facing the island nation, exacerbated by long-standing US trade restrictions.
Warning Cuba to make a deal. What does that deal look like? What do you want them to do?
Cuba is right now a failed nation. They don't even have jet fuel to get for airplanes to take off. They're clogging up their runway. We're talking to Cuba right now, and Marco Rubio talking to Cuba right now, and they should absolutely make a deal because it's really a humanitarian threat.
As Cuba grapples with severe energy shortages, largely attributed to a stringent US embargo that has been in place since 1960, Trump has voiced his confidence in the effectiveness of this isolation strategy. Trump said, quote, "There is an embargo, there is no oil, there is no money, and there is no anything," end quote, affirming his administration's commitment to economically destabilizing Cuba.
See how it all turns out, but Cuba and us, we are talking. In the meantime, there's an embargo, there's no oil, there's no money, there's no anything.
If a deal isn't made, would you consider an operation like the one in Venezuela?
I don't want to answer that. Why would I answer that? If I was, it wouldn't be a very tough operation, as you can figure. But I don't think that'll be necessary.
When questioned about the possibility of a military operation reminiscent of last month's controversial abduction of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, Trump initially hesitated to respond directly, but did not shy away from asserting that such an operation would be easily executed. Cuba is in crisis, already reeling from a 4-year economic slump, worsened by hyperinflation and the migration of nearly 20% of the population. The 67-year-old communist government is at its weakest. After Washington's successful military operation against Cuba's ally, Venezuela, at the beginning of January, the US administration is actively seeking regime change. In many schools in Cuba, classes have been suspended, workers have been sent on unpaid leave to conserve energy. Hotels are almost empty, and flights from Russia and Canada have been cancelled due to a shortage of aviation fuel. The United Kingdom and Canada are advising their citizens to avoid travel to Cuba unless necessary. Many state hospitals have reduced services, and due to fuel shortages and faulty garbage trucks, waste removal problems are piling up in some areas. Power outages are increasingly discussed in Havana and across the island, as the city often lives in darkness at night.
Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has shot back at United States President Donald Trump and cast a pessimistic tone on negotiations with his administration, even as Iran's foreign minister says an understanding on the guiding principles of a deal has been reached.
Iran has said it has reached an understanding with the US on the main guiding principles to resolve their dispute over Tehran's nuclear program. Speaking after indirect talks in Geneva, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi added that work still needed to be done. The US said progress was made.
Inaction in the face of nuclear threats, aggression and double standards undermines the very foundations of international law. The choice before us is clear. Either we dismantle nuclear weapons, or they will one day dismantle us. Together we can work to achieve a world free of nuclear weapons.
For the US, which was also holding parallel talks with Ukraine and Russia in Switzerland, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, acted as lead representatives. When asked about the talks in an interview with Fox News, US Vice President J.D. Vance said that it went well in some ways.
In some ways it went well. They agreed to meet afterwards. But in other ways it was very clear that the president has set some red lines that the Iranians are not yet willing to actually acknowledge and work through.
Both teams had separate meetings with Omani Foreign Minister Badr bin Hamad Al Buzaidi as well as Rafael Grossi, the director of the International Atomic Energy Agency, who will have to lead any potential future inspection missions of Iranian nuclear sites bombed by the US in June during a 12-day war between Israel and Iran.
Vatican's top diplomatic officials said the Vatican will not participate in US President Donald Trump's Board of Peace initiative, while adding that efforts to handle crisis situations should be managed by the United Nations.
Pope Leo, the first US Pope and a critic of some of Trump's policies, was invited to join the board in January. Under Trump's Gaza plan that led to a fragile ceasefire in October last year, the board was meant to supervise Gaza's temporary governance. Trump thereafter said the board, with him as chair, would be expanded to tackle global conflicts. The board will hold its first meeting in Washington on Thursday to discuss Gaza's reconstruction. Italy and the European Union have said their representatives plan to attend as observers, as they have not joined the board. Cardinal Pietro Parolin said the Holy See will not participate in the Board of Peace because of its particular nature, which is evidently not that of other states. He said one concern is that at the international level, it should above all be the United Nations that manages these crisis situations. This is one of the points on which we have insisted.
Up next is the Sports Roundup.
Sri Lanka's Pathum Nissanka has moved up to third place in the latest ICC T20 International Batting Rankings. This advancement comes after he climbed 3 positions following his outstanding performance against Australia in the T20 World Cup match. His display of skill in that match contributed directly to his rise in the global rankings. According to the latest rankings update, Pathum Nissanka now has a total of 786 rating points. Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka A women's team has qualified for the semi-finals of the Women's Asia Cup Rising Stars after securing a 23-run victory over Thailand today. In the match played in Bangkok, Thailand, batting first, Sri Lanka A scored 133 for 5. Hansima Karunaratne remained unbeaten on 62. Chasing a target of 134, Thailand were bowled out for 110. Nathakan Chantham top scored for Thailand with 57. With this result, Sri Lanka secured second place in Group B, earning a spot in the semi-finals. Sri Lanka A will play their semi-final match against India A this Friday. The official local broadcast rights for the tournament are held by the Maharaja Media Network. Viewers can watch the matches live on TV1 and via the website www.sirasatv.lk.
And that's a wrap of your news for tonight.
Thank you for watching.
Good night.